Alan, hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good
It's been a
afternoon.
long day. Look at this.
It's been a long day, but yeah, it's amazing to have you on stage. Um, because at the very end, right, we all know the vision of Animoca, the open metaverse. Yat kind of shares it at conferences and everywhere, and it's a great concept. But at the very end, we're a founder-focused, startup-focused event. So it would be great to have more like a ground conversation on business and on building things. So it would be great to start with your short introduction because you're an entrepreneur yourself. You have a great background. So could you please share a little bit more on that?
Sure. So, I consider myself as always someone who like to start new things and build something that I can see. So, I've done it a couple of times. As we chat about before this talk, I started a dating app because I see the user experience stuck. So, we went in to do that. In the last, just before Animoca, I started Tencent Insurance because, within fintech, that is the missing piece. And, I have the opportunity to build that from ground up, hire the first 500 people, get it to serve 100 million users. And I think within Animoca, I kind of bring that entrepreneurial and builder experience to not just work on one company, because those were like single projects that I work on, and now, we had a portfolio of 400 companies. Of course, we can't help 400, but, we try to, and that's the process, right? We always try to find who's got the most ingredients and readiness, and we lean in to help them to build community, to launch the token, and to help them with, what comes afterwards, right? So I think all that comes together, the different worlds that I've been in advisory first, and in fintech, and as a builder, and now all that comes together in Animoca.
So you're a builder yourself. You're an entrepreneur. You've mentioned you've built a dating app, which is a highly competitive environment, right? And you bring that Web 2 kind of so-called experience into that. And now you're managing, as you've mentioned, like a 400 portfolio company in Web 3. So based on your experience, right, what is the main mistakes, right, that founders make? Early stage. Let's start with early stage, maybe when you're just, launching your Web3 thing. What is the main mistakes you see?
I think what Web3 is very unique, and what bring all of us here is, there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of energy. People hustle. They're great ideas, great narrative. And, for a lot of them, they really understand community. And I think that's the core of Web3, right? But beyond that, I think, to your question, what do we additionally look for, right? I think having all of that is not enough, because oftentimes I think founders feel that there is a playbook, but having a playbook doesn't mean that you've done it. Doesn't mean that you have track record. Doesn't mean you know the amount of effort that you need to put into it, right? So I think sometimes people feel that it is a little bit too easy. It's like, what we often hear is like, so Alan, can we get an introduction to OKX, Binance? So, and they thought then they can get listed. They said, oh, we've spoken to Fenwick. We've set up the foundation already. And they think they're ready, right? So I think that there's a lot more. So I think oftentimes, of course, the projects that we ended up investing are founders to have a deeper understanding, but we also see a lot of founders, maybe especially first-time founders, that had a great idea. They know how to hustle, but they don't really understand all the nuance and the steps they need to take. And it become a little bit, I don't want to say trivialized, but I think they need to understand more what does it take to succeed.
So what you're saying is the problem, they see the playbook, and they think that if they go according to the playbook, they would just achieve something, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly, right? So it's like almost, but it's the beauty of it as well, because it's democratized. It's not centralized anymore. Everyone is an influencer. Everyone had the channel. You can go set up Twitter, Discord, and all that, right? So it feels easy, but we all know it's hard. Everyone who's done it know that it is hard, right? So I think it's that switch, and especially I think in some of the projects where we see the founders are not ready, is they don't get that.
Is it kind of similar to non-Web3 entrepreneurs, right?
I think it's different in that I think the entry, again, this is the beauty of Web3, the entry barrier is much lower. right? So, if you have an idea, if you can go on Twitter, Discord, then you can set up a project. Then you can say that I'm a founder, I'm a CEO, right?
Yeah.
There's much less setup costs, right? And in some way, for example, you build a Web2 business, like an app, or, what we're doing before, you have to think about customer acquisition costs, where do you find your first user, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, oftentimes in Web3, and again, this is the beauty, token is a way for you to bootstrap, right? Incentive is for you as a way for you to get users. So therefore, you don't have a product, but you're out there in the market already, right? Whereas in Web2, there's very few projects where you don't even have a product and you're out there talking about it already. There's no way that you can fundraise into that kind of project unless you are a serial, successful entrepreneur where you have track record and therefore people will fund you. Whereas in Web3, again, the beauty is it's much more democratic, it's much lower barrier, but that means we have a much larger range of quality of projects.
Oh yeah, the entry barrier is completely different. But you know what? So we had multiple founder stories throughout the day here, and many were talking about the fact that in Web3, though the barrier is really low, at the same time, many investors, they are kind of pushing the teams to launch tokens and at the same time, right? So they have to develop the product, like a real thing, like customer acquisition costs, like think all about that things, develop the product. And at the same time, they have the token that they need to launch. And that's like a different kind of side project. It's not even a side project, it becomes like one of the main activities. While when you're talking about the Web2 product, it only comes when you already kind of an established company and you go to an IPO. Is it a problem for founders at Animoca?
Yeah, very interesting question. I think we believe in tokenization. I think token incentive is a way for you to bootstrap and grow user and grow the community, right? So I think that's not available in Web2. So we would encourage projects to use that. But you do it when the community is ready and you need to listen to the community and you to see whether there's organic engagement, right? So I think, we're not against projects launching a token, but I think going back to what founders sometimes don't see is it become that main project that they're barely thinking about what happened afterwards. And I think we had the benefit, so we had 400 companies, we had probably 150 of those have launched a token already. So we work with a lot of projects that are in a post-token, post-TG stage, where they have to think about what's next, right? And how do you keep the community growing and engaged and all that, right? And I think right now, a lot of times founders are,
Sorry, is it a challenge for because you've just, I guess it's very important, right? There are lots of post-TG projects. So is it a challenge to sustain?
Yeah, it is, right? Because a lot of the hype, a lot of the community interest came in pre-TG because everyone, wants to come in and, be a part of that OG group that can share the benefit, right? And of course, it's much harder to keep people, right? And that's why you need to be a lot more thoughtful. So, I think a lot of times I don't think we had, we wouldn't advise anyone against, launching token. In fact, we would ask them to go do it when they're ready. But also think about what happened afterwards, right? Especially with token prices, and we all see the volatility in the market, right? If you launch not in a successful way, your token is dead, it's super difficult to revive, right? And your project is gone, right? So I think a lot of founders don't understand that, right? Because they thought, I'll just launch, I'll just put it on a DEX, which, we're very against, right? Because typically that means no liquidity, no interest, no attention, right? So, they have to think about what's next.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's because you're saying like you're not really pushing your projects to launch the token, right? While many investment and VCs and they actually come in only because a project has a token, right? So it's a little bit different.
No, actually, let me correct. I think we would we would encourage projects to think about token launch, and we wouldn't hold them back at all. We just want to make sure that they do it two things:
Right.
when the community is ready, and they have a post-TG plan. Because we've seen so many projects that didn't manage it carefully, they didn't think about token price, they didn't think about engagement afterwards, and then the project is dead, right?
Yeah. So as we came closer to what actually you are talking to projects and advising them, right? So you're managing the portfolios of Animoca on a daily basis, and you are like the main person responsible for that. So can you share with us like your daily agenda? Like what is the main thing you think is the most important thing throughout your day when managing Animoca's portfolio companies?
Interesting. So I joined 2 years ago. I was given a task to build a portfolio team, which doesn't exist. And what does that mean? That means I think the mandate is really in professionalizing or formalizing the ecosystem and the network value that Animoca has. And we always knew Animoca has, right? But how do you can never serve and support 400 companies. But what we can do is to help some of them, but more importantly, help them help each other. That ecosystem effect, right? So on day one, that was how I thought about approaching this problem, which is how do I bring this group together, and how do we have something that brings them together so that they can share value, right? And of course, the answer, a lot of you who's pay attention to what Animoca has done in the past year, you would know, the answer is Mocaverse, right?
Yeah.
So with Mocaverse, it really is a way for us to connect the different companies, because the problem statement is very simple, right? We had 400 companies that are in games, entertainment, music, DeFi, infrastructure. They're all different things. How do you bring them together? And we thought using points is a very simple way. You can engage, earn points in one project, and spend it on another, right? That way we connect things that are very different. And that was the starting point. And I think, for those of you to pay attention, we've hopefully getting to the next chapter in Moca's development, where a token comes in, and that becomes currency, that becomes.
Yeah, this is where Mocaverse, I guess, plays a big role, right? Mocaverse, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just a quick one. I mean, we're in Hong Kong. It's the headquarters of Animoca. I've seen a lot of projects throughout the day from, also as sponsors and just in general here in. Just quickly, right? If any of you guys here in the audience are Animoca's portfolio, can you raise a hand?
I think I met quite a few upstairs already.
Quite a few. Alan, right? How often do you? Okay. How often do you kind of interact with Alan on a daily, weekly? You do a lot, yeah? You interact with Alan on a daily basis, yeah? Okay. Yeah. I'm just checking on you. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, okay. Let's as we are short on time.
But I just want to say, and that's why having something like the Mocaverse community and a token that's gonna come is important, because we are physically constrained to be in all the places all the time with everyone. But if the community is there, that is us. That is the tokenization of the network effect, and they can reach out to that, and they can work around that, right? So building around the token,
amazing.
building around the project, right?
Yeah, just I guess that would be my last question, but that would be probably not the most important, but the most interesting to many many audience and those people that will be watching the video after the conference. Because there are, all of us are degenning, investing, and doing all these things. So as a CBO at Animoca, right, what are the main verticals? And I saw your Twitter post a few days ago. So what are the main verticals you are looking at right now and making sure that your attention is mostly paid to these kind of companies or verticals in this industry?
You saw my Twitter post. It's actually quite diverse. It wasn't one vertical. Yeah. I think people know Animoca for our games, and that continues to be our focus. But for me, I'm incubating a couple of projects. So we're tokenizing the Telegram game community with Gamey. We're tokenizing education with Open Campus. We're tokenizing attention from Twitch streaming and YouTuber with streams. So, there are so right now I've got about 6-7 projects that I'm very hands-on. But I think, as you can see, it's not one thing, because I think more broadly we're trying to create that network and ecosystem effect, and I think users and community and value come from all of the above, and we want to spread our bets as well, right? So, I think that, and therefore it's by choice quite wide, right?
I love, me personally, I love the gaming and the content thing. Because all this Netflix kind of stuff, I mean, it's great. They produce great content, right? But that would be cool to see something more like decentralized Netflix, where I'm as a user, I kind of,
Yeah. And that's one of the projects. I don't know if you've paid attention to our Twitter feed, you would have seen that we've launched something with Black Mirror.
Yep.
So, one of the episodes where the guy have to like smile to their phone to earn social credit, right? So we actually, Black Mirror, I think, is a very well-known IP, and we're tokenizing that, right? Okay. So, imagine what people can do once you hold on to that, and then you can co-create with Black Mirror. So I think that's one possibility. That's one area that we're looking into.
I don't think I have seen that, but I would definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, before we wrap up, that would be very interesting for me to know, and we quickly touched that point when we were talking with you before the talk. If you go like 2 or 3 years in the past when you were starting to work for Animoca, what would you do differently, looking back?
I think looking back, we still feel that we can pivot faster. I mean, the market changes a lot, even
narratives,
in the short time that I'm at Animoca, right? So being agile, being able to pivot across the narrative, and helping our teams do that, if I reflect, we haven't done it fast enough. But I think now, because of everything that we've learned, I think we're a lot more faster, a lot more agile, right? And I think that's key. And it's not just us internally, but it's also us helping the founders to see what is the new narrative and how do they build faster towards that, right? And again, with Mochaverse, with the Telegram community that we're activating, we have more to give right now. So hopefully it makes it easier for everyone.
Oh, and the last one, if you don't mind. If you were to pick up like the 3 main things a Web3 founder should have, like either personally or like physically or experience-wise, like what would those 3 things would be? Like in your personal opinion, maybe as a business officer of Animoca or as an entrepreneur. So what are your 3 kind of main things?
Okay. Maybe 4.
Let it do 4.
The ability to hustle. I think we all know it's very important. Look at this room, right?
Hustle.
Being creative enough with how you position yourself around narratives. Knowing how to get shit done. I feel one of the things that we didn't talk about is, while there's a lot of hustling, I feel that this space have a lot of people that are not natural, like, team players, right? I mean, there's a lot of individual who's amazing at what they do, but they need to bring a lot of people along. Yep. Any projects need more than just one person, right? So that. And then the last is just, while you think about your moon math and think about where you can go, just be grounded in reality as well. I mean, then that's the conversation we have with a lot of founders right now. Self-critical, but also just look at the market and read the tea leaves and just be grounded in reality. So think big, but be grounded in reality.
So you should be creative in your mind. You should hustle a lot. At the very end, you should get this shit done. And after shit is done, you should look back, be self-critical, grounded, analyze, and repeat.
Great summary.
Thank you, everybody. That was Alan from Animoca.